Hey everyone, this is our weekly podcast where we go over hot topics in the NFL. We are the Football Tailgaters. With me today, I have Yams, our Jets fan, Andy, our unbiased NFL fan, and myself, Aaron, a Cowboys fan. Welcome back, everyone, and we got plenty of topics to go over today. First off, we're going to start off going with some Eagle talk. We're going to go over Dalvin Cook, Dallas Cowboys a little bit. We got some 49ers talk, as well as a little bit of Deshaun Watson and the Washington Commanders. So let's start with the Eagles here, guys. So the Eagles were moving on from Hurts before the season to trade for Wilson. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
The only thing I can think of is, I guess Eagle fans have Russell Wilson to thank because Russell Wilson has saved the Eagles franchise by not going there.
For me, it just shows you how many coaches and GMs really don't have the absolute clue of 100% knowing which quarterback's going to actually do well. They had Hurts in their camp, and they were going to trade for Russell Wilson. And look how it turned out. Russell Wilson stunk up last year, and Hurts went to the Super Bowl.
They dodged the major bullet, I guess. So this really speaks to whoever's managing, whoever's making those decisions on who they keep as the starting quarterback and what they even think about. What goes on in those conversations about how aggressive they make moves towards a certain player or not. You know, there's a lot of teams that make mistakes like that lose those kind of players that maybe they thought they were washed or they're not confident in them, stuff like that. So it's just kind of all over the place, and you don't really know.
If the trade would have happened, I think that the Seahawks would have gone so much further than they did with Geno Smith. And if they had Hurts on the team, imagine Jalen Hurts and Pete Carroll together.
Yeah, for sure.
Would you think oh man, it's because the thing is, I think the Eagles obviously have way better of a roster, right? But do you think they could, at least if Hurts was with the Seahawks, they could have any better, I guess, more success? Or do you think it would be less or the same?
More success.
For the Seahawks,
even if their roster is
not
a lot less significant.
Yeah, they have DJ Metcalf. And then they had Walker before he went out with a broken leg.
They still have Lockett in there.
Lockett,
yeah.
Reliable.
Yeah, he's a little bit older, but
yeah,
he's 3 more years or 2 more, I think.
Well, what if it's a situation that just the coaching is just didn't play well for the Broncos with Russell Wilson? I go back to defending Russell Wilson because we'll see this year since he has Sean Payton. But if Russell Wilson went to the Eagles and had all those weapons and that coaching staff, who knows? They could have even gone to the Super Bowl too.
Yeah, because especially with the whole RPO stuff, you mentioned this even with the way that Denver Broncos were using Russell Wilson. He was sitting in a pocket, which is not his ideal scenario every single time, right?
Exactly.
He's about using his legs, and especially with RPOs, so that would have worked perfectly with him. I think it would have definitely been a lot better with the Eagles than with the Broncos.
For sure. He at least would win one more game.
He would what?
He would at least win one more game than he did with the Broncos, for sure.
Yeah. All right, let's shift on over to Dalvin Cook. So there's a lot of talk about Dalvin Cook. You know, there was rumors that he was going to get let go or traded possibly. But now it's official. Dalvin Cook has been cut from the Vikings. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Unfortunately, Dalvin Cook went down as the Leo DiCaprio situation. That Leo DiCaprio, once they turn into a certain age, whoever he's with, he just cuts them off and goes with a younger individual. And that's what's happening here with the running backs. You're going up to a certain age and you have to cut him and you go with a younger running back. It's unfortunate.
Cook is a great runner. He just had a lot of injuries that kind of added up to finish off his career. But I still think he's a solid running back for any team and can elevate any team. You know, maybe the Cowboys would need him to be very complimentary to Pollock.
So if I'm not mistaken, ever since 2019, this man has been pulling off 1,000-yard seasons. He hasn't missed a single beat, right? Maybe the touchdown production went down a bit in the last 2 years, right? But he's been a solid running back. And this might be a sign that maybe organizations are starting to notice, hey, running backs don't last as long, and we need to get ahead of the curve before they lose their value, and maybe they want to get more than what they would get after, you know, you start seeing significant I guess, decrease in production that they have on the field.
Absolutely. And then to keep paying them what they're expecting to get paid, it's just better to cut the ties early.
Yeah, I've said it before that in the negotiations with the players union, that the players union have to come together and put a separate type of situation for running backs, because they just get the better end of the deal, the wrong end of the deal actually, that they get the most hits. They get like they're there almost every single down, switching in the third down or whatever, but they get a lot more concussions. Unfortunately, we've seen past players gone in through bad situations with all those concussions that they gone through with running backs. So I think the players union should really go into protecting these running backs.
I don't know who, but I think there's an NFL player that's retired that did mention that idea. I don't know who it was. I don't remember. But there was a mention of it. I think it was like a tweet or something. So the idea is out there. I'm pretty sure there's a significant amount of talk of that happening. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I think there has to be a change, because yes, you're right. And it sucks because even like in this specific scenario, I was saying, you're cutting a guy who was giving you 1,000 yards every season for the last like 4 years. Like, what is that? Yeah, he's scoring less touchdowns, but he's giving you value, right?
Yeah, well, remember the situation, you as the Cowboy fan, when the Cowboys had DeMarco Murray? He was like the bulldozer of that offense. Because of that offense, they were able to get to that level, and a lot of people thought that they could have gone all the way to the Super Bowl. And you know what happened against that Green Bay game, the catch-non-catch situation. But it was all through DeMarco Murray. And what did the Cowboys do after that season? Didn't they let him go? And he went to the Eagles. They went to a division rival. You see how these teams just think of these running backs like, yeah, we can just move on. Which I kind of understand in their point of view, that you can get similar, not maybe quite as high as production, but if you build that offensive line to create those holes, you have running backs that can just get a whole bunch of yardage and touchdowns.
So what about, since we're talking about Dalvin Cook, right? Where do you think Dalvin Cook will go to now that he's released?
Well, it seems like the Las Vegas odds have the New York Jets with the highest probability right now. The Miami Dolphins a little slightly under the Jets, but they're pretty close to each other. Then the Bears, then the Cowboys, then the Cardinals, then the Bills, then the Broncos. In my opinion, it's going to be the Miami Dolphins, because we are hearing some trade rumors of the Dolphins trading their starting running back, Raheem Mostert, but that's something that we'll talk about a little bit later. But I think that'll be the perfect spot for him.
I agree. Miami, it's definitely the spot for Cook. He is a Miami native, so it just makes sense for him to return home. He's a much better running back than Raheem Mostert, and they definitely would work with him. Another one comes up to my list is Cowboys. They need a running back that works with Pollard.
I don't think the Cowboys need a running back that works with Pollard, but I do see maybe a scenario with the Dolphins. So they have Raheem Mostert, you guys mentioned him, but then they also have Jeff Wilson Jr. And they were kind of having this like, and I don't know, I forgot what happened with Myles Gaskin. But anyways, they had this rotational running back situation here, so they can get a clear number one here and especially make a stronger run in a tougher division. So I can see the odds maybe going with the Dolphins here rather than any other team. Yeah, there's other teams that I think he would fit in well, but I think the Dolphins are in need of a clear number one running back.
It's just a little strange of the Dolphins just going with the one clear running back because of the head coach, Mike McDaniels, of how he came from San Francisco. And the San Francisco, as we knew when it was under Mike McDaniels, offensive coordinator, they had a lot of different running backs, and he was switching them on and off all the time. And that's what I was expecting last year. But there were some injuries going with the Dolphins. But I think Miami Dolphins would be okay if they didn't get that number one player. But of course, having Dalvin Cook in your running back committee, it helps a lot.
And especially with his usage, you were saying Mike McDaniel likes to rotate his running backs. So you wouldn't just put on Dalvin Cook and depend on him, just him. You got options here. So it's not the end of the world. The problem here, I think, is Dalvin Cook wants a significant amount of money. So that was something that was mentioned, right? He wants a pretty good contract that favors him. So that's definitely going to scare some teams into not pursuing him. And, it's too early to tell yet, but there's no real mention of if Miami Dolphins are pretty confident in getting them, right? So it'll be more interesting in seeing what team feels like they're more desperate in getting someone like Dalvin Cook, especially in the kind of position he's in right now, where he's not giving you a lot of touchdowns, but he is giving you good amount of production in the running game in general, right?
Yeah, 100%. He would be the dynamic running back there in that team. So if the Dolphins do get rid of Raheem Mostert, then yeah, I would assume that's like a no-brainer to keep you at that level. It's just the AFC for me is just a big competitive conference that it's really hard to get to the top there. But if you're trying to win the Super Bowl, of course you're gonna go with Dalvin Cook. Now my question for me is how much you want to pay the guy. Is this a 1-year type of deal, max 2? You got to be really careful to not, as a business, to not pay him for like 5-year deal or whatever.
That never happens.
But it can.
Not for running backs, that's for sure.
Well, for both sides it can work. If he's trying to get as much money as he can, get a one-time year, big-time money, and for 1-year deal, I don't know, 10 million, 12 million. I know for players, when you look at contracts, they get half of it. They get half of it. So if it's 10 million, he's gonna get 5. So if it's 12, 6, because of that they pay for taxes, depending on the state that it is. In Miami, it would actually help his favor. Then he would have to pay his agent, union dues. No, it's a lot of money that they have to pay. So get as much money as you can. If it's a 1-year deal, think about it, and maybe even think about retirement. Just give it a couple years, last hurrah, and then retire and get as much money as you can.
It's reported that Dalvin Cook would not sign a $45 million type of contract. So that kind of gives you an idea of what he wants, right? And the teams are gonna that's easy for them to decide. Okay, we're not interested because that's too much money or whatever. But aside from the Dolphins, I can see the Cowboys maybe having that opportunity, but they won't even sign D-Hop, so why would they go after Cook? So
D-Hop is very a suspect type of situation that we clearly not seeing the whole picture with him, because
something's going on.
Not everybody's lining up to sign him. He's visited with the Titans, and now he went to the Patriots, and it's not like people are.
Maybe it's a contract talk.
Maybe it's a contract talk.
What he's asking is too much.
Why is Odell Beckham signed and not D-Hop? That's crazy to me.
Odell Beckham took forever to get signed. Remember, there was a lot of talk. There was the whole fiasco with Cowboys and him, where he just wasn't ready. No, he's not ready. Blah blah blah.
For
whatever.
Sure, but there was teams.
His health.
There was teams wanting Beckham, and here with DeAndre Hopkins. Teams are dropping up, nah, we're good, nah, I'm fine. It's strange. It's strange to me.
Well, there's without a single doubt, this is so clear as day that DeAndre Hopkins is a lot better than Odell Beckham. I don't care. Whatever it is, whatever's going on,
he'll last longer.
It's a different conversation. It's a different conversation. You can't really compare them. Yeah. That's all I'm going to say.
I agree.
But so okay, we did mention a little bit of the Dallas Cowboys here. So the Dallas Cowboys are apparently interested to trade for Dolphins Raheem Mostert. So what are your guys' thoughts on that?
Well, if Dalvin Cook does get signed to Miami, then I do see them moving on from Mostert. And like I said earlier, I think Pollard does need a complementary running back. I don't know, but he can't do it alone. And I think Mostert would be something to consider to add. He's not like Elliott. He's not going to be that Bozer that just runs through people. He's a different running back, but I think it could help.
I think he is an upgrade from Ezekiel Elliott. Ezekiel Elliott has some knee issues, and Raheem Mostert, he is the starting running back for Miami. He did a pretty good job. Now, of course, if the Miami Dolphins sign Dalvin Cook, then of course they're gonna trade off Raheem Mostert, and I think that would be a big upgrade for the Cowboys for sure.
So this is a rumor, first of all, right? And there's also the rumor that Dallas is interested in Dalvin Cook, that they're in the talks of it. So this is kind of like they are interested in seeing if they can help out, maybe not putting the whole pressure on Tony Pollard, right? But it's not a crazy idea, right? It depends also what they give up. I'm open for some help on the ground and adding some rotational, I guess, like running backs, but in like certain scenarios where it can help out, right? So Raheem Mostert's not terrible, like you guys said. He's definitely an upgrade from Ezekiel Elliott, but at what cost, right? That's what I'm interested in.
I don't think
want
he's
them
an
giving
upgrade
up
at all
more
from Ezekiel Elliott. Ezekiel's 27 years old. Mostert's 31.
Okay, but look
You
at the
just talked
productions.
about-
Look at the productions as Ezekiel Elliott
One's
has
on a
had.
team and one isn't. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, that's
What?
true. One isn't a team and one isn't. Nobody signed Ezekiel Elliott.
One-
He's free right now, and
He's
I haven't
probably-
heard no team actually asking him, come and try out for us.
But he's probably asking for a lot of money, and that's probably why he's not signed. And it's probably why D-Hop is also not signed, because they're all asking for a lot of money. We saw
D-Hop has said that he's really
they
flexible.
all say that. They all say that, and they come down and take $1 million less than what they're asking.
Well, putting Dalvin Cook, even though he's a big time star compared to Mostert, in my opinion, I think it would come into some political issues with the Cowboys, because Tony Pollard got franchise tagged, and he wants to show that he can be that type of running back to get paid the big bucks. And if you put in Dalvin Cook in there, and Dalvin Cook would get some big bucks, but also wants to get a big time contract probably, then you're gonna have a situation that they're both like just wanting to like be that number one running back there, and it can cause some dysfunction there with the team. That it's not like, this is our running back and this is how we're gonna play things. I mean, the only good thing I can think of is that they're both gonna give it all 100% to show what they can do on each on each play. But there could be some political problems there.
I don't know. I'm fine if they get Raheem Mostert, as long as they don't give up what I think is too much.
It sounds
right?
like a Cowboys type of situation to get Raheem Mostert. Yeah, but you're right. The Cowboys they do some boneheaded moves with their money. So yeah, we'll see. But I do see Raheem Mostert play for the Cowboys. I do see that. That's a typical Cowboys move.
Oh my gosh, don't they? Who else is it? Ronald Jones. So they got Ronald Jones.
They have that shorty.
Yeah, they got Von, and they have Malik Davis, which it's not exciting.
No,
I would like to see
definitely
what's up with what can Von do, right? Even though he's like really short, I'm still excited to see, but that's still a question mark. He's a rookie, so you can see what's going on. You can start him in special teams, kick returns, punt returns.
I like that they're interested in versatility, though, in the running back position. It just means that they're not just fully depending on Tony Pollard to save their whatever situation they're in. Depend on him for the running game, whatever it is, right? They're looking to be dynamic.
Well, hopefully
I'm interested in that.
Can
keep up.
Can keep up, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see about that. It's not a terrible low line, but it's also not great. Okay, so let's talk about in the NFC still. We got the 49ers. So Brock Purdy, we could say Mr. Irrelevant, he had a really good season last season, right? It was up until the Eagles where they just got completely demolished. And, what was it? Brock Purdy hurt his elbow, right? That's what it was?
Yeah, unfortunately, and that happened in the NFC Championship.
Yeah, it was an NFC Championship against the Eagles.
Right.
So it was tough. But can Brock Purdy be great next season?
I think he can. It depends if he will be available for week 1. There's some news articles that say he might not be available. And there's also insider information that Trey Lance and Sam Darnold are in competition, but they're not doing enough to take over as quarterback 1. So I think Brock Purdy continues with his irrelevant, whatever you want to call what was last year, Mr. Irrelevant, taking over the league.
I think he can absolutely just continue that magic that he brought last year. Mr. Irrelevant became really relevant, and I don't see Sam Darnold. We've seen him struggle with the Jets, struggle with the Panthers, and now he's with the 49ers. Trey Lance has been injured all the time, and Purdy, with that coaching staff and those players around him, they went all the way to the NFC Championship. We would have not known if they actually could have gone to the Super Bowl if Purdy didn't get injured. So of course he can continue that magic.
There is a little bit of talk that it would take around 12 weeks after his surgery, which I think is taken sometime like this month, right? It should be like really soon. So it's going to take a while for him to finally be ready to go out there and start throwing. I think he can totally be capable of doing as good as he did last season, mainly because he's got all the pieces around him and he's clearly capable of being put in that role and having that confidence and not being afraid of whatever it is, the indecisions, the panic of, being put on that spot. You got to be the guy that makes those plays sometimes. And as long as you just have a good coaching staff that gives you like the versatility of these players that they have. They got Debo, they got Kittle, you got McCaffrey. Like, what else do you want? Like, this is the perfect thing. Now, I don't think it's just like any quarterback can do this, right? But it definitely helps a lot to what Brock Purdy has been doing with the 49ers, I think. You guys have any other thoughts on that?
For me, it's just a wait and see situation. I do think that Brock Purdy did a tremendous job, but he's coming off of an injury. We don't know how bad it is. I'm not a doctor regarding his elbow. If he can just go back to how the way he was playing and just have another, he already played 1 year in the NFL and he plays again in the second year. I just see just a higher ceiling for him. So I don't see any problem. It all depends on his elbow.
I'm excited to see if he brings it back again. And if he doesn't, I'm excited to see who wins because a lot of you know that I am a Sam Darnold's fan. So I'm pulling for him. So I'm excited.
Get over it. No, it's over for him. It's over.
No, sir.
He keeps coming back, man. They keep trading him.
He has 9 lives in the NFL.
He's like trying to get in the frame, and you just have to push him away. It's like, no, stop. It's done. It's over. It's tough. It's that quarterback situation is definitely interesting to say the least, right? Because you still got the whole Trey Lance situation.
It's real funny how the NFC conference, there's no like amazing quarterbacks as the AFC conference has. So I mean, wouldn't you be like a team in the NFC like just trying to just win it all and just build as much as you can to go to the Super Bowl? I mean, who are the top contenders in the NFC? I mean, Aaron Rodgers is gone. Tom Brady's gone. So
you don't think Jalen Hurts is good?
Jalen Hurts is good, but this is his first year that I saw like a tremendous type of game from him, and it could be just a game scheme that defensive coordinators for the following year and this coming season can figure them out and stop them. And the Eagles need to figure out a way to be a little bit more creative and just not go do the exact same things. Now, if they do the exact same things and it still works, well, then good for them. But Jalen Hurts, he's not a pocket passer. I put him into that category like with Lamar Jackson. They're really good quarterbacks as of right now, but they're just not that pocket passer type of quarterback. And it's been a long time since I've seen those types of quarterbacks to win a Super Bowl.
I think as long as we get rid of all the primetime games, the best quarterback in the NFC is easily Kirk Cousins. He's the best pocket passer in the NFC, as long as it's not primetime games.
I don't know what you're drinking right now, but
what are you talking about? That's the whole thing.
What about Jared Goff?
What about Geno Smith?
Oh, come on.
Hey, Geno Smith played really, really well last season.
He did, but I think it might be Jared Goff. Okay, so this is the time for the Cowboys to actually win the Super Bowl. There's no threat. There's no threat in the NFC. There is no one. No, Aaron Rodgers everyone's now in the AFC. There's no one stopping them.
You can say that about any team in the NFC, but no, the Cowboys are just not ready. I see their depth chart, and now Mike McCarthy's doing their plays. It's a big question mark for the Cowboys.
Okay, so this is something real quick. Well, just quick thoughts on this. I saw a point made that whenever Dak Prescott was leading the league at interceptions, he was getting absolutely slaughtered by everyone saying, well, like, oh, he's trash. He's absolutely awful. Why is it not the same slander with Josh Allen?
Because we've seen Josh Allen go all the way to the AFC Championship, and we haven't seen Dak Prescott go up there. And Josh Allen just had
But was that like a 1-game difference? Because didn't they get
regardless
to the divisional round?
regardless, they still got there.
I'm with you, Aaron. Why don't they do the same thing to Josh Allen?
Yeah, whatever, Jets fan. No. If you compare both quarterbacks, you can completely see how Josh Allen is
but none
better
of
than
them,
Dak
they don't
Prescott.
have a Super Bowl.
No,
The
they don't.
Bills don't have a Super Bowl.
They don't.
The Cowboys don't have a Super Bowl either.
Right.
What you're telling me is that one just made it, what is it, one game further?
We've seen Dak Prescott play against the 49ers twice, 2 consecutive years in the playoffs, and he can't do it. We've seen
So you're going to tell me that Ezekiel Elliott under center was Dak Prescott's fault?
No, it wasn't. But are you kidding? Look at the play. Like, they had like 2% chance to make something happen. It was
no, I know.
really
It's just an
hard
example of like that coaching staff of what have they done throughout that whole game, right?
No, I'm with you.
When the defense can't carry you, how are you supposed to adapt with the offense, right?
Well, then that comes into a coaching type of situation. I mean, it seems like the Bills coaching staff, I feel more confidence in them, which gives me more confidence in the quarterback. But same thing with Tom Brady with Todd Bowles. If you take out Todd Bowles, you put Bruce Arians back, I'm sure that they would have a way better season. It's just also the coaching staff that gives you a little bit more confidence. And at this point, even though Josh Allen had more interceptions, because he was injured, by the way, that means that I would give a little bit more confidence to Josh Allen than Dak Prescott.
So, do you remember the Miami and Bills game where it was super hype and it was very important game, I think, on determining I don't remember what it was exactly, but I know it was very hyped up. I know it was an important game, and Josh Allen did not do good at all.
But remember, he was injured throughout the whole season.
Okay, well, I mean, that's just, you can say that about like any quarterback that was injured during that season, but what if they go and win the Super Bowl injured, you know? What's the difference?
I think it's a level of the injury. I believe his arm was the problem there. So for a quarterback, if you get rid of his arm,
and whose fault is that? It's not Josh Allen's fault, right?
Well, no, I mean, and injuries happen.
Unless he says, I want to go out there and play.
Well, that game, Tua, we all know what was going on with Tua the whole season, right? Concussions and everything, but he won that game. Actually, Tua played really well that game, but that's the injuries were the concussions in his head. It wasn't his arm. So he was able to still do some maneuvers and do some things as a quarterback, but Josh Allen wasn't able to because of arm injury, which is the most important part as a quarterback.
So why did you play him even though he's injured, you know?
I mean,
it's interesting, right? It's not like, aside from that injury, again, what separates really him from Dak Prescott? I think it's the coaching staff, really.
You can make a debate on that, but I still think that Josh Allen has shown more in games of his dynamic gameplay, his precision and his passing, especially to Stephon Diggs, and how big he is to get those short yardage compared to Dak, even though Dak is still a big-time quarterback, and he does get those touchdowns, but it's like if you compare, he's a Cam Newton. Plays. Josh Allen is like a caliber of Cam Newton type of like getting those short yards. He's huge. They're just strong and huge and big. And Dak Prescott, he's still strong and everything, but it's still not as easy to get those yardage as Cam Newton and Josh Allen. That's my opinion.
Let's go over another AFC quarterback here. We got the Cleveland Browns. So you got a lot of talk about the monsters of the AFC, right? Everyone with like an amazing quarterback compared to the NFC. Now there's no real talk about Deshaun Watson. Is everyone sleeping on Deshaun Watson here?
Well, I mean, it's hard to predict how he's going to do. He didn't play a full season last year, so this time he is going to play a full season. So, I mean, we can say there will definitely be more touchdowns this season by Deshaun Watson. And I don't know. I honestly can't say we're all sleeping on him. He was very rusty last year. I do see there'll be some improvement. I just don't know how much.
There is going to be big time improvement. Amari Cooper was like a top 10 wide receiver when he got a little bit going. Deshaun Watson is a big time quarterback, and with the Cleveland Browns, they do have a lot of weapons in there. Chubb is going to have a monster season. I have no doubt in my mind. Amari Cooper is going to have a big time season. I believe Peoples Jones. Is that his name? Right? I think I'm getting it right. Yeah. Peoples Jones.
Donovan Peoples Jones, yeah.
He's also going to have a big time season as well. I think the Cleveland Browns can even go into second place this year in that division.
Wow.
Definitely the suspension did hinder, I think, what his abilities, what he's capable of. There was some impact there. So now that we might see him go on with the full season, he might do a lot better. I think he might be a little bit slipped on. I don't think it's anything crazy. I just need to see exactly what he was doing back in Houston, where he was just insane. He was great. I really thought they were going to go all the way. They were really close to it against Kansas City. So what does it have to take for him to go back to those days and accomplish that now that he has a solid roster? Again, you were mentioning a lot of good players here. And yeah, I mean, I just don't see, there's no real excuse, especially when you have Myles Garrett on the other side helping you out on the defense, right? And other key players on the defense. So it's gonna be, I think, if anything, if he has a bad season, it's gonna go real bad for him, and there's gonna be a lot of trash talk about the most overpaid quarterback in the NFL.
I don't think it's going to go extremely bad for him. There will be an improvement. I just don't know how much. Just looking at AFC North, you have Lamar Jackson. You have Joe Burrow. And you have Kenny Pickett, who we've talked really highly of him last season. And I'm thinking he will come with more improvements. And then you have the Browns. This is a tough division.
It is a tough division. But like you said, Joe Burrow, probably the Cincinnati Bengals are going to stay in the number one spot. But for me, it's the Browns against the Ravens for that second spot. And Deshaun Watson is a big-time quarterback. If he goes back to the level that he was playing way before when he was playing, he had a lot of time off, so he should be okay playing and still have those big weapons. Compared to the weapons that Lamar Jackson has, I give it more to the Browns. And then the defense that the Browns have, I think the defense for the Browns are a little bit better than the Ravens.
I think for sure overall, Browns have a better team. It's just, can they do something with that better team is the question. Are they going to do what Browns usually do, right? Cleveland Browns have had a bad history, right? You've had the whole drama when Baker Mayfield was there. So it's just kind of difficult to really put faith in them. And I think that's why they're being slept on, because it's the Cleveland Browns, you know? They kind of just disappoint, and you're like, wow, okay, who saw that coming? Not me. No, obviously no one says that. So it's going to be interesting for sure now that he's going to have a full season to finally play, right? And see what he's capable of. Can that coaching staff help him out too? You know, because that's also important, obviously. So,
well, they were doing okay with Brissett and with that coaching
staff.
Yeah,
no, they were doing better with Brissett actually.
So yeah, I think that coaching staff is fine. And I know you mentioned Baker Mayfield, but Baker Mayfield, I mean, poor guy, he went through coaches after coaches after coaches, and it seems like this coaching staff is, for the time being, fine. We'll see. It's all up to Deshaun Watson.
There's a little bit of worry. Yeah, there's a little bit of worry, though, in the running game, because I believe Nick Chubb wasn't doing as good with Deshaun Watson under center. So that's something to keep an eye out for him in general and in fantasy. Let's go over the last topic, guys. We got Eric Bieniemy. He's with the Washington Commanders. He is the OC for them. Can he fix the offense of the Commanders? What do you guys think?
I don't think so. He had Patrick Mahomes as his quarterback. I really, really don't think he can fix what's happening with the Washington Commanders. Washington Commanders are just looking for a fix with their quarterback. They're putting their game on a quarterback that had just one really good game against the Cowboys. That's his starting quarterback. I believe the Washington Commanders are going to be flopping and just losing most of the games this year, so they can get one of those 2 caliber quarterback drafts next season, which is Caleb Williams from USC or May from North Carolina.
I don't know. He left Kansas City, you know. He had Patrick Mahomes and he had Andy Reid, so he left to cradle his own light, right? He's been under the shadow of Andy Reid for such a long time. Washington's just a big mess. You know, they had Carson Wentz, now they have Heineke. I don't know. They will do better. I just don't know how much better.
Yeah, it's hard to really kind of gauge how capable Eric Bieniemy is of changing this offense, mainly because, like you guys were saying, he's got Patrick Mahomes, right? So this offense, the Washington Commanders, they were kind of like a bottom of the barrel type of offense. They were 27th in the league last season. That's not good at all. They were 24th in points scored. They finished 8-8 with the tie. So there's not really much of, I guess, of an expectation here because the bar is low here. You got not much of pressure, I guess. He doesn't have a lot of pressure. It's just he's got to do better than what they did last season, which isn't hard to do if you're capable of being a good offensive coordinator, and I think he is. But is he like completely game changer? Like, oh my gosh, I need this guy on my team? Who knows? I don't think so. Maybe not. Maybe he will. But it's not. I'm not scared because, you know, as a Cowboys fan, this situation going on with the Commanders, you already got talks of Chase Young being traded away. They're listening in on calls of getting rid of him. So that's a whole other conversation there.
There's a reason why nobody got him as a head coach year after year after year. And it's not because of anything political or anything like that, in my opinion, because it just seems like he's just not that type of caliber of a coach.
Absolutely not. He's just been under the shadow of Andy Reid. And you have Patrick Mahomes. When you have a quarterback so good.
How come the Patriots always have their coordinators going to become head coaches under the shadow of Bill Belichick?
Because Andy Reid is the one that does the calls.
And Bill Belichick does the calls too on the defensive side, though.
But the defensive side.
Uh-huh. And the coordinators get head coaches.
And okay, yeah, you're right, but it hasn't worked out. It hasn't worked out, and maybe that's why people are scared. Even though you have coaches coming from a Bill Belichick tree, they come out and they're not successful, and maybe that's what they're afraid of under Andy Reid.
No, I disagree with you because look at Mike McDaniels with Miami Dolphins came out of Shanahan.
1 year.
No, and look at Salah as well. We went to become the head coach of the Jets. I disagree with you. That's very normal for coordinators to get a head coaching job under a successful
But that's
team.
Shanahan. Those are the only two. Like, can you mention someone else?
Under Pete Carroll, Quinn, Quinn, the head coach, went to become the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons and went to the Super Bowl.
Are you talking Dan Quinn?
Dan Quinn,
that lost it? Okay.
I mean,
well,
still.
sure, that's one example.
No,
okay.
I can name you a lot of examples. Look at the Eagles. Now the coordinator's the head coach of the
But don't
Colts.
you think with Eric,
and also with
but don't
Frank
you think
Reich.
with Eric Bieniemy, it's just because he had Patrick Mahomes and didn't have to develop such a quarterback and had to go through.
No, I think it has something to do with Bieniemy just not being competent enough to be that head coach. There's something that's going on with those interviews that is just not going well for him.
Just be a bad interviewer.
Well, we'll see with this team. I just don't think that with he had Patrick Mahomes and now he's put in a really bad situation, if I may say as well, for Bieniemy. I know he wanted to go to another team, and I think he's in a bad situation. He doesn't have a quarterback. I mean, as of now, maybe it'll be a tremendous quarterback. I don't know. But for now, it's not a proven quarterback. I see it as a really tough situation.
Yeah, he's in a
Commanders.
tough situation. He is in an awful situation. He has Sam Howell and then backup Jacoby Brissett. Even though Jacoby did okay with the Browns, right?
Right.
We'll see.
Would you guys, real quick, before we end it, would you guys rather have Kellen Moore or Eric Bieniemy?
Eric Bieniemy.
That's a tough one. If I have to choose, I would say Kellen Moore.
Why?
Because Bieniemy had Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. I'm talking about big-time players. And Kellen Moore, he had Dak Prescott, and he had an offense that was the top scoring offense in the NFC. You'll see that Kellen Moore is going to do really well with the Chargers with Herbert.
He's in a better situation though.
Regardless.
No, he's in a better situation. You can't compare the teams. Like, look at the quarterback they have. You cannot compare. Of course, he's going to do so much better. Look at the quarterback he has.
Okay,
that's an easy thing to say.
Look at the situation he had with Dallas, though.
He still had a better quarterback than what Bieniemy is going to be working with in 2023.
Oh, we don't know that. Look what happened with Dak Prescott.
If you want to compare Dak Prescott's talents towards Commanders, go ahead.
I can't compare it right now, but we'll see what Sam Howell can do because Dak Prescott was a 4th rounder, and look what happened. Ask Kellen Moore as his coordinator.
The bar is low for Eric, and I don't think he'll do bad at all. It's just you might have to give him a little bit more time than someone like Kellen Moore, because Kellen Moore was thrown into already playoff-ready team, and the Washington Commanders are rebuilding in some, what I think is a rebuild.
Could be.
So, any closing thoughts?
Well, I just have one controversy fantasy pick for the next season for 2023. So this upcoming fantasy draft, this particular player, I'm going to say his name, is Taylor, for the running back for the Colts. He actually messed a lot of people's fantasy up big time because he was taken first overall by many, many leagues. This year, I believe he is going to get better. He has a new quarterback, a running type of quarterback, and they're going to do a lot more RPOs for him. And he was injured as well. They're doing some changes in the O-line, new coaching staff. He's going to have a better season than last year. So I would still pick him in the first round.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, no, not really. I mean, yeah. I was trying to think of, no, yeah. I mean,
all I could say is I'm thinking we'll see how our fantasy goes, our draft, but it's going to be very wide receiver heavy, and I don't think it's going to be running backs taken first. So it's going to be a little bit of a shift this year.
Well, wouldn't that mean that you should take a running back first?
It depends how you want to run your team. I'm not going to tell you how you manage your team, but
if the running back position is scarce, might as well, because you're going to have a lot of wide receivers.
Scarce, and also doesn't produce points.
You're always going to have risk, right? Everybody thought that Taylor was going to be the big-time running back to get just tremendous amount of points.
Taylor or McCaffrey.
Yeah, exactly.
McCaffrey was a better pickup.
Josh Jacobs was a huge sleeper.
True. He was really good. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So I guess everyone has to do homework. It's almost there. Almost time. Well,
yeah, we're getting close.
We're getting close. Start doing homework from now. If you don't do homework now, then you're gonna suck.
No, because you still got injuries, I guess. I wouldn't really start until once they get deep into the whole mini camp stuff.
Well, the mini camp is happening right now. I actually agree with Yams to start doing your lists, your wide receiver list, your running back list, so you can see how drafts are going to be going down. Your tight end list, your quarterbacks, what round you're going to be picking your quarterbacks. You have to strategize big time, because a lot of these people in fantasy just pick up quarterbacks early, and it just opens up for you to get more wide receivers, more depth on your wide receiver or running back. So just start thinking of strategies. But we'll talk about more throughout this.
It's never too early, right? But a lot could happen too, because we're in the deep end of the off season here, and like you said, mini camps just started. But when I said is really when sometimes injuries happen, sadly, and stuff like that. But that's in July. But yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah. I don't have anything else to say. What about you guys? You guys good?
No, we're just excited. We're getting close to that fantasy time.
Fantasy.
Yeah, exactly. So let's just get ready, and we'll talk about more fantasy stuff in the next coming episodes.
Cool. Thank you guys for listening. To those who made it to the very end, we appreciate you guys, and we'd love to see you guys giving your opinion on our social media, which is football_tailgaters on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Thank you guys again for listening, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.